everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jasmine and I'm a second year medical student at the University of the Witwatersrand. So a little while ago I posted a video about how I got 8 distinctions in matric, and since then I've received quite a lot of requests or questions regarding the languages which I took, which are English home language and Afrikaans first additional language, and how exactly you do well in those subjects specifically. And so today I'm going to be trying to answer those questions and help you by searching back in my mind to 2 years ago, when I was in matric preparing track finals, and everything I did and also learned in the process of preparing for that. Personally, languages are not my strong suit. I am more of a mathematics and science person, and for most of my time in school, I really struggled to get A's in English and Afrikaans. For basically the whole of my schooling until probably grade 10, I was really working hard, and yet my results weren't reflecting that. For English and Afrikaans, I would repeatedly miss getting an A by 1 or 2%. And it can be really frustrating. And so I'm going to try and teach you some of the techniques that I managed to implement in order to get my marks from low 70s up to 90s by the end of matric. So I hope that these tips will be useful and valuable. If you haven't watched my videos on how to do one matric, I would watch those after this because they do give you a more comprehensive view. But we're going to be narrowing in on English and Afrikaans now. One of the main problems I found when studying languages is that it's really difficult to know what you actually need to learn, because sure, you can study synonyms or idioms or the punctuation and language rules, but those don't really count for many marks, and there also is just such a wide range of things that could possibly be tested that it's just almost feels like a waste of time learning those, but also you don't know what else to learn. For example, comprehensions, which are done in both English and Afrikaans. Those can be difficult to learn for because you have no idea what you're going to be reading about. And for Afrikaans, because, well, I'm an English speaker, not an Afrikaans speaker, and if you don't know the vocabulary or what's being talked about, it's going to be very difficult. So for Afrikaans specifically, learning vocab is so important, and it's so boring, I know. But if you want to get your marks to go from low to high, or to see an increase, you have to do the boring stuff. And that is something that I struggled with a lot, because studying for English and Afrikaans, it wasn't something that I enjoyed. And I also didn't really see the point, because why am I studying this film? How is it going to be relevant to my life? But being older and wiser that I am at this ripe age of 19, can tell you that what I've learned about school is that it's not actually what you learn, it's more the ways of thinking and just the kind of underlying knowledge as opposed to what you're actually doing. I don't know if that made sense. But for example, maths. I personally, studying medicine, we do very little maths, which is a bit strange because most people doing medicine were very good at maths at school. But we get to university and it's like, you don't need to add things anymore. Like, you don't have to do calculus. We'll dumb it down for you because, you guys really aren't going to understand. Which, I mean, is a bit rude, but at the same time, it isn't really, we're already busy enough. But back to the point. Whilst the actual sums and calculations and geometry that I learned at school may not actually be something that I'm referring to in my day-to-day life, those problem-solving skills that I adapted from studying maths and just the ability to look at a puzzle or a situation and, try to solve it like you would an equation is kind of the skill that you adopt from that subject. Afrikaans and English are the same. Now, I'm at an English-speaking university, and while I do have some friends that are Afrikaans, we normally just speak English. So I can't say that Afrikaans itself has been especially useful in my day-to-day life. Probably would be more if I was living in the Cape or something where Afrikaans is spoken more. But in Joburg, it's a pretty English-speaking area. But the point is that Afrikaans itself was not relevant. But what was relevant was getting myself to learn the skill, I think, of doing things that I don't enjoy. How I got really good marks in Afrikaans was by studying the literature really well, also poetry, because at least in my case, when I was writing poetry tests, pretty much if you studied hard, there were the questions that you were given to practice were the same questions you would get in the exam, more or less. And so by learning that, I could get maximum marks in those areas. And if in the comprehension there was something that I didn't know what was going on, it's fine. Say goodbye to those marks. Now let's focus a little bit on English specifically. Studying English, again, especially if you are an English speaker, seems just challenging because unlike life science or geography, there aren't specific sections. Well, I mean, there are, but they also aren't. There aren't like facts you can learn that you know will probably be tested. It's more learning skills. And skills can only get better if you practice them. And so, we're going to say again, as I've said in I'm pretty sure both my previous videos around this topic, past papers will literally change your life. Now, I cannot tell you how many English past papers I did. There were a lot of them. I probably went from, I don't know, the oldest past papers I could access to the most recent ones. From probably all of high school, every year I was trying to do all the practice that I could. Because in order to get better at a skill, especially if you find it just confusing, because in order to answer comprehension well, you have to know what the examiner wants from you, I find. I never know what's wanted, but if I can figure out what they want, then I can put the right answer, you know. So we have a special guest who has just appeared and is very reluctantly giving some of his advice because English and Afrikaans were also not his favorite subjects, but we're very grateful for him for spending some of his time and his expertise talking to us. So, Owen, welcome to the channel.
Out of all the subjects you could have asked me to talk about, you choose these two.
Yes, I know, but I think a lot of people can relate to the fact that English and Afrikaans, they aren't very fun and they aren't very easy unless you're naturally good at it. And I feel like people who are naturally good at these subjects fall into the minority. So what did you do to get A's for English and Afrikaans?
Let's think. I think the important thing with these two subjects is just focus on the aspects you know you can do well. Like in Afrikaans, you got your set book. You can learn all the facts about that book if you just put in a lot of effort. And then that's a guaranteed, like, good chunk of your marks you can get. So then you don't have to do as well in the other sections that you're not so good at, but then you can like rely on the sections you are good at. So I would say for Afrikaans, I mainly focused on Tall because you can learn all the rules and apply them. The poetry because you can basically learn the answers and the poems off by heart. And then for English, I just learned as many quotes from our set books as we can because you just litter quotes all through your essays. The markers are like, okay, he kind of knows what they're doing. And they'll bump you up like from a B to an A category maybe. And yeah, there's how many English poems were there to learn? Like
21, I think.
no, much more than Afrikaans. It's a bit more difficult to learn it for English, but say English, your answering technique, it's very important sometimes. It's like it doesn't matter like what you say, it's how you say it. Like they're more looking for like a structure in your answer. So I'd say those kind of things.
Thank you very much, Owen. So, to summarize, identify your strengths is probably the first thing you need to do. Look at where you score the best and then just hone in on that and maximize. So, if you can get 90s or 100 in that section, but you only get 70s or 60s in another, they kind of balance out. So, yes, thank you, Owen.
And one last thing, they do suck, but the past papers do help. They do recycle the poems every now and again. So if you go through enough past papers, you could be lucky and you could catch like one of the Afrikaans poems from a previous year they could use again, which is always nice.
Amazing. Thank you for watching this video. That's pretty much the main advice I have for doing well. If you have any other questions, you're welcome to leave them in the comments down below, and I hope that you found this useful. Bye.